Hello, everyone. A few people have asked me how I was able to defeat the safety shelf in the Glock 43 in order to do the test to see if it could ignite a primer from the half cock position. Okay, so I posted a video yesterday where I removed the safety plunger and the extractor. I basically dropped a case with a primer, no gunpowder, no bullet. And what I did is, like, after the slide was racked, and what I did is I reached in with a 1/8 punch, and I pushed down on the cruciform to drop the sear without pushing back on the trigger. Right. So I'm just gonna go in there. You should hear a click when I push down on this. Right. You heard that click. So I pushed it down. And what that did is that released the firing pin. Now in this case, the safety plunger is still in there, right? Because I put it back in yesterday. But yesterday I had removed it, and the testing showed that the Glock 43 which is my everyday carry, from that half cocked position, there's not enough energy in there to set off the primer. It just kissed it. It put a light little strike. It put basically a light strike on it, but not enough to ignite it. It was a very common CCI primer. Okay. But I should not be able to do that, right? I should not be able to push down on that sear, and for it to basically drop off the safety shelf. And on most of my Glocks, like my carry and this other one that I have here, right? If I do the same thing, I can't do it. It won't go down, right? But see, I'm pushing down on it. It won't go down. I tested all of my 17s, 19s, and 26 Glocks, and on none of them, when I push down, am I able to basically get that firing pin to drop. So this one over here is out of spec. The trigger housing is out of spec. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show, basically, I took a look at it today, and I wanted to see why. So what it is, I compared this one to this one, because this one over here, I cannot get it to drop off the shelf, whereas this one over here, I can. All right, so let me get behind the camera. So I'm going to hold this screwdriver a little further back. So you can see here, when I push in with the screwdriver, right, you see how the screwdriver actually hits. It goes from the shelf and it hits the cruciform, right? So because that shelf is lower, whereas on this one over here, right, if I put the screwdriver, this flathead on the shelf, it actually goes straight across, right? Here, the shelf is lower. It gets stuck right there. So that's out of spec. That shelf on this one over here is out of spec. Okay, so that's the reason on this one, because it's lower, I'm able to, when this thing is like this, I'm able to push down on this and not, there's just enough give to release the sear, whereas on this one, there's not enough gear. There's not enough give. Yes. Okay, so this now with the trigger forward. Okay, with the flathead, you can see how much space. Oops. You see how much space is there. This one over here has a little bit less space. Okay. So again, so if you wanted to do this test, right, and if you had an extra trigger housing, what you would do is you would just Dremel the shelf down here a little bit lower, and that would allow you to drop the sear just enough to release the firing pin. And of course, you would have to also take out the safety plunger, and you got to take out the extractor, because those two kind of hold each other in place. And then you could put in a case that has primer only, right? No gunpowder, no bullet, and you can test your Glock or you could test it yourself to see if it will or if it won't ignite a primer from the half cock position. And from what I saw, it will not. Okay, so that's the shelf right there. All right, so this one's out of spec. You can see how the shelf is just a little bit lower. On none of my 26, on none of my 17s, 19s, or 26s, am I able to push down on it. But if at some point, if I want to test it, I would just take out a spare housing that I have, and just grind down that shelf and test it. And then, of course, you would change out the housing after the testing. But that's how this was able to be done. Now, when I did this yesterday, I did not know that this was going to happen. I did not know that some of these 26, these Glock 43s that I have, that first of all, I didn't even know that shelf existed, to be honest. Okay, this has been this whole thing with the SIG 320s, with the accidental or with the uncommanded discharges rather. It's forced me at least, but forced many people to kind of look at their carries or their guns and say, hey, how safe is this gun actually? So I was aware that the Glock 43, it had the trigger, it had the trigger safety. I was aware that it was in a half cock position and it had to actually move back in order to fully cock. Okay, I kind of assumed that there was not enough energy in the half cock position to ignite a primer. A few people said that was incorrect, and that kind of led me to test it out. Right, so I did the test where I took the safety plunger out. Okay, and it turns out that no, there's not enough energy. You actually have to move the that firing pin has to move further back in order to ignite the primer. Okay, so the safety plunger I was aware of, right, but I was not aware of that shelf. That shelf existed that is supposed to prevent me from just pushing down on the sear like I'm doing right now, right, and clicking on it. That's not supposed to happen. So that's one of the things that you want to check with your Glocks, right? You want to make sure that, take like one of these small screwdrivers and push down on the sear, just slide it in there, push down on the sear, and see if it's able to drop, okay? Because it could be out of spec, like this one over here, okay? So I built most of these back in 2020 and 2021. That was the years, those were the years where there was a big P80 building craze. It was impossible to get factory OEM parts, right? They just weren't available. Matches up with this. So I was getting whatever I could get on eBay. Okay, so some of the stuff was good, some of the stuff was not. So you gotta test it. You gotta test it. Like the one that I'm carrying here, I've tested it. Pushing down on that sear, it will not drop the sear, right? So you want to actually test it to make sure it works, especially if you have aftermarket parts that you bought back in 2020, 2021. Okay. Now, one of the things that has come up is how about a lot of those aftermarket triggers that are designed to give you a lighter trigger pull, right? Where because a lot of people complain that they want their Glock triggers to be more like SIG 320 triggers, right? Like they want a single action trigger. So my thing is that if you're going to get an aftermarket trigger, right, that's lighter, it usually means, not always, but it usually means that it's more preloaded, right? So instead of it being, let's say, 58% cocked like a Glock, it might be 75%. Okay. So that essentially is defeating one of the safety mechanisms, right, where it's more cocked, so the firing pin has enough energy built into it to ignite the primer. Okay, so that's one of the things that you got to watch out with a lot of these aftermarket triggers that are supposed to be, these aftermarket Glock triggers that are supposed to be lighter or easier or smoother or whatever. You want to make sure that they're not if you're going to carry the gun, right? If you're just doing competition shooting, it's a whole story. But if you're going to carry the gun, you want to make sure that it's not loading more of the firing pin, so that you're defeating one of the safety mechanisms that's built into the Glock. Okay, So this has been a very interesting ride with the SIG 320 and some of the issues that they've been having, because it's forced me to look at my carry and asked me to consider how safe is it to carry around the chamber. And that's part of the reason why I set out to do all these tests that I've been doing. And I do not monetize this channel. I do this just for, basically I'm doing this for my own benefit, and I just record it, and you guys are along for the ride, and I'm just sharing the information with the gun community. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include a small part of the test that I did yesterday, where I was testing, where I took out the safety plunger to see if there was enough energy from the half cock position to ignite a primer if the sear were to drop. Okay, so again, there's a lot of things in there preventing it from firing. There's a safety plunger in there. There's the fact that the sear sits on a shelf, or supposed to sit on a shelf, that prevents it from getting knocked down. However, especially if you got aftermarket parts like I do, in this one over here, that shelf might not be up to spec. Okay, so but the good thing about Glocks is just like there's so many safeties built into the gun that in this case over here, even though the one of the safety features was not up to spec, the shelf in this case, the other ones, like it being partially cocked and it having a safety plunger, are adequate. Okay, so that's one of the great things about Glocks. They have multiple layers of safety built into the gun. So I don't see I was actually thinking about getting a SIG 365 for everyday carry, because it does have the higher round capacity. I've shot the gun many times. I like shooting it. But yeah, no, I'm at this point, I'm absolutely definitely sticking with my Glock 43. A lot of people said, why not a Glock 43X? Because it is a smaller gun. I mean, realistically speaking, I live in a very safe area. There's like almost zero chance that I would ever get into a self-defense type of encounter. So for everyday carry, I want to have the lightest, thinnest gun that I can possibly carry. Like when I sit down in the car seat, I don't want to feel the gun. That's why I carry this with a flush magazine. When I tried getting the one with the little pinky grip over here, when I sit down in the car seat, I can feel that half inch of that pinky extension. I can feel it when I sit down in my truck, basically. So that's why I carry it with a flush magazine. So for everyday carry, that's really the most important thing to me. And I do carry an extra magazine over here, right? And I carry it horizontally on my belt. So again, when I sit down in the car, it doesn't bother me. Okay. So anyway, I'm gonna include the video to the testing I did yesterday. I hope you guys enjoy it. Drop some comments, because it pushes the algorithm. It gets the information around to more people. I'll talk to you all soon. All right. So what I did is I took the extractor and the firing pin block out of here. So if you look over here, no extractor, no firing pin block. Okay, so what I have here, a bunch of cases that I put some new primers in. Okay, so these are the CCI small pistol primers, number 550 CCI. I already did this test earlier with a different G43. Okay, so I wanted to test it on another one. Now, in order for this test to work, basically on my G19, 26, and 17s that I tested, I'm not able to reach in there and drop the sear. Okay, what it seems is that the sear, the sear has to actually move back in order for it to drop. On some of my Glock 43s, the same is the case. Like the one I'm carrying, I cannot just stick this in there, push down on it. On some of them, like this one and a different one I tested, I am able to push on it. So there's a tolerance stacking issue there, right? So with the G43s, on some of them, this will work. On others, it will not work, right? Now, on the ones that it doesn't work, if you pick up the slack and push down, it will drop it. But the question is, if you don't push it back, can you drop the sear? So only on some of them, some of the ones I have built, you can do it. I suspect that because this has the slide came from one place, the frame I built. I suspect if you get factory Glock 43s, that's not going to be the case. Like in all cases, I suspect that sear is going to have to move back, right? It's going to have to move back in order for you to drop it. So yeah, just give you guys a closer look here. Nothing in there, right? So let's lock this open. I'm going to take one of these cases. All right, I'm going to put it in there. I'm going to close it. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 1/8 punch and I'm going to just drop that sear. You heard that click? Nothing. Did not set it off. Now there's no extractor here, so I gotta. Well, that's interesting. It didn't even kiss it. Earlier, it was like kissing it. Let's do this again. Put that in there. Close it. Gonna push down on it. I can see that the firing pin has moved forward. Right, we can see it through the hole. Oh yeah, actually there was a tiny little. This time it just nicked it a little bit. It might be an issue with like when I sat this, because this one seems to have less of a mark than the earlier ones I did. It might have been that when I seated this, maybe it went a little bit deeper. Let's take this same one. We're going to put it in there, and this time I'm actually going to pull the trigger. Okay, so now I'm going to pull the trigger. Okay. That time, it fully impacted the primer, and it set it off. Let's do one more. So again, this is the second gun. I'm actually going to put this video at the beginning of the video, even though it's second, just because it gets kind of straight to the point. So I'm going to close this, okay, all the way forward. Take this, I'm going to push down on that sear. Nope. Right, sear drop. Yeah, this one left a little bit more. All right, so now I'm going to take the same one. I'm going to put it in there. Okay, I'm going to press, and now I'm actually going to press the trigger all the way back. Work. All right, let's see how that's been hit. We're going to do one more. Okay. So again, these are CCI primers. Close it, push it, make sure it's all the way forward. Take this, push down on it, bring it close so you can hear the click. Nope, nothing there. Click, no bang, no pop. Push that out. Right there. Really light strike. Put this in there. Now I'm actually going to press trigger. I'll do left so you can see it. That's it. I'm 100% satisfied that my G43 that I carry, okay, cannot fire when it is partially cocked if the sear were to drop. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about this more in the second part of this video, but it seems on like some of my G43s, there's tolerance stacking issues where I am able to reach in and press down on the sear and get it to go down. On some of the other ones I have, it won't go down. Like I actually have to move the trigger back in order for it to get pushed down. But in either case, it partially cocked, it will not set off the primer. Okay, so that's just fact. I mean, tested it out. I'm surprised other people haven't posted videos on this. I was only able to find one video, and it was tested outside the gun using measurements. So here it's actually tested in the gun, and you know, I mean, the facts are facts, man. So drop some comments. Let me know what you guys think. I'll talk to you soon. Oh, and please do comment, because YouTube has changed their algorithm, and it's based on engagement. Okay, so the more comments you have, the more the video gets pushed out there, more people see it. I do not monetize this channel. I don't make any money on any of my videos. The only way I make money is by actually training people in person. Okay, and most of the people I train are brand new newbies. Right, so I do not make any money on these videos. I'm just trying to share the information out there, and basically just promote the overall gun community. Okay, so drop some comments. Talk to you soon.